Good afternoon and welcome to Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host this afternoon, Tina Prigge, and it is always a treat when we have Therese Horstketter join us from the Manitowoc Public Library because it is book banter and Therese is here with some new recommendations. Hi, Therese, so good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too.
I think that this is the
And hopefully good recommendations. Yeah.
yeah, you haven't steered us wrong in these many months that we've been doing this, so I'm pretty excited.
Well,
And
I hope. I had one gentleman come to the desk once with a book I had recommended, and he said, "This better be good," but he never came back and said it wasn't. So,
nice, nice. Yeah, I've read a lot of them that you've recommended. Some of them are still on my holds list,
mhm,
so I'm just patiently
mhm.
waiting. In the meantime, I have read all of the Sarah Vowell books that I could get my
Oh,
hands on
okay.
because of that event. That's pretty exciting.
Right. That is very nice to be hosting it over at the Capitol is very nice that she'll be appearing there.
So, in case viewers don't know what we're talking about, this summer it is Thursday, July 14th. Author Sarah Vowell is going to be coming to Manitowoc for an author event. It'll be at the Capitol Civic Center. If I understand correctly, it's free to the public to attend. You don't even
Yes, it
need a
is.
ticket. And I think it's
Right.
going to be pretty cool. I think book
I
signing is part of it.
Yes, it is. And one thing to know, it is one event that she is requesting everyone to be wearing masks. So just a little heads up with that also going into this.
Okay,
So,
good
but
pointer.
no, I think it should be a really nice event. Authors are I've never been disappointed going to an author event.
And I read her books. I hadn't heard of them, and it was like this cool surprise this late in life that it existed. And I was like, oh, I read the first one, I read the second one. I'm like, I
Yeah,
love these.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
pretty
She
excited.
is very well liked.
So let's talk about the books that you have to recommend for us today. I'm going to put up first the one that you mentioned was the oldest, and this is Elevation, a novel by Stephen King.
This Stephen King is, he's gone in different ways with his books that some are, the totally creepy and then you have the ones that are just um unique, like take a regular event and change it up. This has almost a little, I want to say almost fantasy, supernatural, a little something in there. It is a man named Scott, and he all of a sudden is like he goes to the doctor and he looks the same. His clothes still fit the same, but he's losing weight. And his doctor mentions it, and it's funny, he weighs the same whether he is dressed or not as this goes on. It's like it doesn't really put weight on him. And this is a huge part of it, of course, but it is what takes place with this happening to him and how much more he just keeps more weight is gone. He still looks the same. And when people touch him, they feel almost like they're floating, like they don't have weight. And this is a smaller town. He has some new neighbors, and it is two women that are trying to open a business. And he has, I wouldn't say love hate, but he likes one and doesn't like the other. And the city is kind of against them. They are not taking them in well, since this is maybe one of the first gay couples that they've had that are outright in their community. And he has little annoyance because their dog does his business in in his yard, and one of them is a little tougher and is not as nice to discuss things with. But it's of course set in Castle Rock, which anybody that reads Stephen King is pretty much familiar with. Just seems to be a place that things happen. And this is a very touching story. It is just odd in the what is happening with this gentleman, but it plays a very big part in what happens to several other people. And to not really be able to go into it much more than that, there's a big event that he's a part of, and it's almost like this was just meant to happen to him for certain reasons. And so I really enjoyed it. I had kind of gone back because I hadn't had as much time to read lately, and I thought, I will look for one that I've never mentioned, from a while back. This is about 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, and, but yeah, definitely recommending this one. It's a good book.
So not Stephen King creepy. This is a
Nope.
different kind of Stephen King,
Yeah,
right?
Stephen King more, a little unusual, but like I said, that Castle Rock area seems to have a lot of that happening, so, yeah.
And I just want to read the blurb on the cover because it's powerful. It says a quick, satisfying read, the sign of a master simply elevating his own legendary game yet again.
Mhm, yeah, it
Awesome.
very good one.
Nice. And this is not part of a series. It's a
No,
standalone.
no, standalone.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's Elevation by Stephen King. What about The New Neighbor, a thriller by Carter Wilson?
The New Neighbor, I had not read any by Carter Wilson before, and this is not, necessarily a series. It looks like, um that once you get to the end of the book, it does mention about another book that has more about another a family that is part of this one. But I read this as a standalone. I don't know if I will get to that one or not, but this didn't leave you hanging with anything really necessary. But this is about a man named Aiden, and the book starts. He is at his wife's funeral. They have 7-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and he's trying to get his son to come into the church for the funeral. And they go through the service, and they go out to the gravesite, and the um, the priest comes to him and says, they're not quite ready. Can we just take everybody? Would you come back inside, and then we'll come back out when they're ready? And he said, I'll stay out here with her, and I'll just have some time alone, and everybody else can go back to church. Well, while he is sitting there and just having his own thoughts about things, his phone goes off, just a little reminder kind of thing. And it's his Powerball drawing.
His
And
what? Oh,
his
Powerball.
Powerball numbers, it always pops up whenever there's a drawing, like the next day he gets notification what the numbers were. And as he's doing this, he's thinking, why am I even doing this right now to look at it? And they're his numbers. He's the single winner of
Okay.
a Powerball drawing. And so it's just one of those things like, oh, okay, they start this out with this big, where are we going from here? How can you're burying your wife, and you've just become, it was this huge millionaire. Well, it moves quickly to where he just decides, I'm we're meant to go elsewhere. So he is the new neighbor. He
Oh,
moves with his children from, I believe it was from Maryland to New Hampshire. And he, of course, buys a huge house, and all strangers to him that live there. It's not near family or anything, but then he starts getting letters from someone who seems to know a lot about him. And he goes to the police. They don't seem to have too much to say about it. But the thing with his house is that people disappeared from this house, a whole family basically, except for one member. And so there's all of this, besides still mourning his wife and helping his children adjust. And then he has this happen, that this house he decides to buy has this history. And then the next thing is these letters that start appearing. So it was a good book. It takes a couple different twists and turns along the way. And um, ends up having his father come to stay with them for part of it. So he's another character, and they all have, there's always a flaw. There's something bad that happened that between his father and himself and a brother. So that's another twist in it. So it was a good book. It's interesting, and even though you get that big bang right in the beginning, it still has enough to keep you going. It's not that it just, oh, that was it, they had a good idea, and but no, it was good. There's a lot happening in it.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a novel length book that really could have been a short story,
Right.
right? That's so disappointing.
Yes.
So, this is the first book you said you've read by Carter Wilson,
Yes.
but you said you didn't know if you'd read the other one?
He has several more, and at the end of it, I think I would read it. It's just I would say you don't have to enjoy this one.
Oh, cool.
It's going to probably give you more information about a part of the book, but if you want, kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right, so then moving on, Blood Sugar, a novel by Sasha Rothschild, and it says she's accused of 4 murders. She's only guilty of 3.
Yes. So, and this one, I will say, um, I would want to discuss with someone after they read it to see where they really think it ends up. Because there are some books, they don't leave you hanging, but they leave you with a little bit of which way am I taking this kind of thing. And
Oh.
but no, she decided to when she was young, was her first murder, and it was somebody that was bullying someone. And rather than helping this person when they were in distress, she put them in more distress. And this was very young. And she has 2 other murders, but the police end up getting to her because of her husband dying in the book, which we know
Not
happens,
by
but
her? Is not
and so it's like, is it her or is
Oh.
it, you know, because of course the detectives come. Well, then they look back and it's like, huh, we had these other murders and you were always near or you were, you know, somewhat involved. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. And her husband is a diabetic, which is where the blood sugar title comes from. And
Oh.
so yeah, it was a pretty good read. It was surprising to start out. You can read this, but at the same time, you can't believe that somebody would really do some of these things that happen in the book. So yes, um, very good. Yeah, I thought this one was very good. Yep.
Okay, so viewers, if any of you have read Blood Sugar, let us know. I have not read it yet. Therese, I will read it, and then
Yeah.
we can kind of compare notes. That's really
Yeah.
fun to do actually when somebody has
Yeah.
read the same book, right? To kind of
Yeah. It is.
have a little discussion. So
Hmm.
viewers, we'd love to know what you thought about Blood Sugar.
And especially if somebody doesn't give you a book that just leaves you hanging, which has happened to me somewhere along the line.
Wait, you're not talking about the book I gave you, are you?
Yes, it was.
Oh no!
But anyway,
Well, I still think about that book though. That's the thing. I
yeah,
still think about it, and I can't get my
I
mind
forgot
around.
what the title of it is now, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was a good
Severance.
book. But when you sometimes get to those, and it's like, it just made me work through that, and now
Sorry. Let's talk about The Tobacco Wives
oh
by
yeah,
Adele Myers.
Tobacco
This
Wives is I want to say it's a very comfortable read. It's it's about a girl who is about mid-teens, and her mother has some issues, I think, kind of being a single parent at that time. And Maggie, the daughter, or Maddie rather, is always thinking she's looking for a new husband. Well, this is 1946. She They get in the car, and normally she would go and stay with an aunt that was in another city for part of the summer. But this time her mother has a bigger suitcase packed. and takes her to visit this aunt and says, "I'm not sure when I'll be back." It's that kind of thing. Well, where she is dropped off is called Bright Leaf, North Carolina, which I never did look to see if it's a real city or not, but it is tobacco is the big industry there, and they call it big tobacco. And I thought it was kind of funny because one of the gentlemen in the book is actually has the last name Winston, and I'm thinking it was intentional as just a little something put in there with that name, but um, she has started to become a seamstress, and that's what her aunt does. And she makes all these beautiful gowns for like the tobacco executives' wives. And so she is learning further how to be a seamstress in that manner. And they also, because women were working the factory while men were gone to war, but they all had to wear very specific um, uniforms with a jacket and pants and fitted neatly. They had to look very nice working in a factory. And it was just the way things were handled there. And so there's a couple of other friends that come along the way. But what happens with this is that she starts to realize, with smoking, it's like everybody's smoking. And they develop cigarettes that are just for women. And it's great. And it'll be good while you're pregnant. And so she starts noticing some things that are happening, and she by accident finds a piece of paper in a garbage can. She just grabs it out to use it for scrap paper and accidentally finds out something about the company. And so there is kind of the women empowerment at that moment where the men are going to start coming home from the war. So the factory owners are intending men to come back and women should just go home to their kitchens. And so there is part of that where, a group of women fighting for their rights. And so none of this is going to ruin the story at all, as you come along to these things in the story. But Maddie ends up being a part of this and also shares this information and tries to help. And it's um, it's very sad and amazing to see the way things are handled. Both, just a variety of things that come up with it. But it was good, and I love to read always about, with the women with the galas and stuff and their dresses and how, with all the fittings and the hats they made for them. And, it was a fun book to read for some of that. And then just seeing some of the other parts that came into play.
So it's a kind of a historical fiction, would you say?
It
The fact that it's set in a time certain and
Yes,
is a
and
window to some of that culture.
right, right. So it's not a big stressful mystery kind of read that you can't, that you can't hardly wait to see. It's like, yep, you wanna keep reading it, but it's not that pressure kind of a thing where you're waiting to see how things work out.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I just want to read the blurb too because it says it's a story of courage, of women willing to take a stand in the face of corporate greed, and most definitely a tale for our times.
right. Yeah. I
Nice.
thought it was really good in seeing how she got involved with things. It was, yeah.
Okay, awesome. These all sound like great recommendations. I don't know which one I'd want to start with first.
I read the Tobacco Waves first. Well, Elevation a few years ago, but
Okay,
Tobacco Waves, and then you can go into something with a little bit more suspense.
gotcha. And then you've got a preview, something maybe for tomorrow after someone's
Yes.
read all these books, right? Let's talk
Yeah.
about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, a novel by Gabrielle Zevin.
So the reason this one caught my eye is that this is a preview for me. Is that she wrote The Storied Life of A.J. Fickrey, which was a very much enjoyed book.
I
Yes.
loved that book. I
And right,
loved that book.
and I did too, and so when I saw her name with a new book coming out, this one's coming out in July. It's early July, but it is on order, so you can put a hold on it already if you'd like. And it sounds kind of unusual. It's 2 friends who've known each other since, grade school, since they were kind of kids. They grow up together, they come together as creative partners with a video game system, or it says the world of video game design. And just what happens, it spans 30 years and how they become successful at this. They love each other, but they never go into a relationship as, say, husband and wife, or but they're just, it just says utterly brilliant in a sweeping, gorgeously written novel. She charts beauty, tenacity, and fragility of human love and creativity. And I, from loving the other book, I'm really looking forward to this. It says they just run into each other when they're adults, around college age again, where they just haven't seen each other for a while. And it starts from there. It talks about, of course, tragedy somewhere in there where there are relationships that are that long. But I'm just looking forward to it from the author, and it sounds like a very different story involving, with the video game thing. I'm not sure exactly where it'll all go.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, the storied life of AJ Fickery was such an enjoyable read.
It
And when
was.
that book started, I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and
Yeah.
it totally the title is perfect.
Yes,
And it
it
is
is.
such a beautiful story and the redemption. And so, viewers, if you have not read The Storied Life of AJ Fickery, treat yourself. Definitely treat
Yes.
yourself. And I'm delighted to know that this is the same author. Now I'm super
Mhm.
enthusiastic about this one.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That is my biggie for I said it's different story, but yeah, author, we hope there will be another good one here.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
viewers, if you're on the coolest coast, if you look at the cover art on this book, it's the Great Wave off of Kanagawa. And that's like a famous Japanese representation. This same wave is also painted in downtown Manitowoc on the corner of Ninth and Franklin. So that's kind of cool to see that represented on the
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah. Did you have a hand in that?
Jason did.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Jason Prigge, Aaron Labonte, and David Carpenter painted that
Oh,
piece.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And Aaron and David are the ones that did the one that we have up above our entrance in the library.
Yeah, the storybook
Yeah.
mural. Right,
Right.
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 And I believe they both painted the Ruth West mural too, the one that
I
says,
think so.
"Imagination."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Nice little
Therese,
tie-ins here.
thank you so much. Oh, and
Sure.
let's just one more time remind
Book
everyone
sale.
that this coming weekend, June 24th through the 26th, is a used book sale at the library. What should people know
Yes, it
about this,
is.
Therese?
Well, this is our first one now since January of 2020. And we've missed 4 of these big book sales. We're thrilled to be having it again. And Friday, it goes from 9 to 5:30, Saturday, 9 to 2:30, and Sunday from 12 to 3:30. And one thing to make note of, we are not taking debit or credit cards at this sale. It is cash or local check, and we do have an ATM in the building, but just wanted to try and let people know that as much as we could ahead of time. But
Gotcha.
we're going to have just the ton of things you expect, and should be a great sale. We're having Stuff a Bag on Sunday for $4, and so yeah, we look forward to
Tell,
seeing everybody.
tell people what stuff a bag means.
Stuff a Bag, you get a basic paper grocery bag, and you can fill it for $4.
So
So
anything you
when you
can fit in that
right,
bag, $4.
right.
Well,
If
that's
you
amazing.
can say an adult book is a dollar, you can fit 12 or 15 depending on how much you want to carry, but for $4, it's really a deal.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
most everything, we just have a few unusual things that are maybe priced separately, but the majority work with that part of the sale too.
Okay, awesome. Therese, as always, it was a great pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for these great recommendations. I'm super excited for the future reading this summer, and we will look forward to seeing you next time on Coffee on the Coast.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Coffee on the Coast.